Okay, I want to start with a question on international competitiveness. In his testimony, Dr. Baer mentions that other nations appear to be encouraging more interaction between their respective universities, industries, government laboratories in an effort to promote manufacturing. So I wanted to ask all of you about any insight you have into successful programs or models being pursued in other countries that we might want to consider implementing here in the United States. So we'll start with Dr. Taub.
Well, a very good example has been the Fraunhofer Institutes that started in Germany, and I think many of the principles of the Fraunhofers were built into the NNMI and AMTech constructs. It's also a question of, in my experience in other countries, there's a more sustained strategic objective for their government funding. They tend to go with a longer time frame horizon, which allows the universities to really build the core competency, to build the relationship with their industrial partners, so that you can go in and more effectively work over a longer time frame. Funding a strategic program in a deep technology for 2 years just doesn't cut it anymore. They tend to go with 5- and 10-year plans quite effectively.
Thank you. Dr. Baer?
I recently was president of an international scientific society, the Optical Society of America, and I traveled all over the world, met with leading scientific groups and also ministers of science in a number of countries, Japan, China, Taiwan, Germany, and Brazil. And all of these countries had programs, I think, which conveyed the message to our universities of the importance of a focus on applied research and manufacturing. And that's almost as important as anything you structure into a bill, is just raising the awareness of the contribution that the university sector can make to industrial competitiveness in the U.S. We have long emphasized here the importance of basic research and scientific research in general. We have not done as well as we could just valuing the contributions that can be made to advanced manufacturing. Putting in place these programs, incentivizing them through competitive grants and matching grants, I think will just change the attitude and culture. My institution, Stanford University, is one of the best in the United States at recognizing the value of applied research and a strong interface to local industry around Silicon Valley, as well as worldwide. And I think this will be a remarkable change that will take place if these bills are funded and the funds made accessible to the universities.
Well, I just have to add, Dr. Baer, I'm very proud to be an alum of Stanford. So. Mr. Muro.
And I would, very much in the spirit of these comments, note that I think our country lacks the sense of a national strategy in the area. There isn't a clear direction or even to an extent a significant stressing of the importance of this. There's a lack of industry road mapping, which I think your bill is beginning to try to take on. So these things would give a context for individual, more pointillistic efforts such as the NNMI. And then meanwhile, our country hasn't, until very recently, thought so much about the subnational nature of the innovation economy, and it hasn't thought so much about the applied aspect. So I think a stronger focus on, regional policy is a part of innovation. And we think, again, that federal challenge grants to regions are a great way to prompt the kind of collaboration that will generate information exchange and innovation.
Well, I have very little time left, but let's see if we can do very quickly. Any suggestions specifically on improving technology transfer, which I think is one of the most important things that I've focused on since I've been here. We do have great research at our universities, our national labs. How do we improve technology transfer to manufacturing? who wants to jump in? Dr. Baer?
I think I will use my institution, Stanford, as an example. The goal of technology transfer is not to earn money for the university through licensing, but rather to promote the commercialization of technology that's been co-developed or developed at Stanford University. That attitude, where you use the licensing process as a route to commercialization, and that being the goal. And I will tell you that our university reaps the benefits more than tenfold by just generous contributions to the university supporting research and development, and also contributions to the endowment from grateful alums and grateful companies, more than 10 times the return they get from their licensing processes. So that attitude change, I think, is something that will promote the technology transfer and facilitate it between the universities and the commercial sector.
If I could just build on that for 30 seconds. I spent my 30 years in industry working quite closely with universities in this country and around the world. Getting the statement of work between the university professor and the industrial researcher is normally a 2-day exercise. Working through the intellectual property arrangement can take months. Yes. And it's this whole question of the federal investment leading to the invention, leading to the intellectual property. How is the university going to benefit from that? It slows down and in many cases stops progress.
To add one note, I think one of the weaknesses of our tech transfer activities is they don't work particularly well for SMEs. The whole structure, the whole licensing process, and this applies in spades to the national laboratories, is oriented towards much larger companies. And I think, the voucher is an interesting way to try to start a more kind of anarchic and maybe productive set of relationships with smaller firms. But I think that's an area that is important to look at, and I think it's excellent that the bill is going to have an experiment with vouchers.
Thank you.